Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Shauna Lee. I'm just doing a little quick intro here. This is the second part to a two-part of the first podcast. So I basically had a podcast that I had to split up into two chewable bites here. So this is what I did here in this second series. So basically, podcast one, this is part B. So here we go. And I'm trying to find that balance between right and wrong there. So getting back to the fear factor, hopefully we're not too far gone here. I think I'm kind of keeping on track and whatnot. That's what I see as the devil, really, in life. If we had no fear, now, we can get into weird territory with people with no empathy and all that, but if we're talking about life and taking chances and risks and stuff like that, like moral risks that are morally right and all of that stuff on the good side of things, when we're talking about those things, I feel like, we're talking about the devil here. He's smacking our fingers, trying to keep us down from the highest positive goals of our life. And the more I evolve, the more that energy gets reinforced. And until it doesn't, that's what I'm going to keep thinking. The devil's in the details. He's in the details. He's in the fear. And he's in those little walls that we create between not only ourselves and others, but da-da-da. And it's hard because, hard knocks, right? Life sucks, right? And then what do? You can't be positive and upbeat all the time. And even though some people think I am this, I absolutely am not. I have my low moods, and I really... the reason nobody knows that is because I isolate so heavily during those times. And I go right down into the darkness and I, whatever I need to do. Like, sometimes I just need to be... with my mouth, I need to be just quiet. And I just think. Or I don't think at all. Or I just, mellow out with some... sad music, and I just indulge in it, and then I release from it, and then I come back out. It's the recharge. Like, anybody who's an introvert, I think, understands that. It's like we can get in modes, and I think it's a constant struggle of trying to figure out who's going to take from you and who's not going to. And you don't go around life, you don't go to the grocery store not saying hi to people because are you going to steal from me? No. Right? But it's like, I don't know. I really, from my perspective, I can't, because I've always been the loner. I've always been an independent lone wolf. That's me all the way. I've had one straight person in my life, like, meaning, one person that I kind of is tight with, but there'd be series of them, and it's like, I gotta release it. I can't handle, I think if I look back to my high school days, I was a very depressed person. I was never happy. I swear they had some kind of curse on me or whatever. But anyway, I guess I would have been what they call now an emo, like dark clothes, dark. It's to myself. I don't say nothing. Brr, that's it. That was me. And then, when I got to high school, because I grew up in a small town, which I resented every day of my life while I was there. But now as an adult looking back, it was a great rooting experience. Thank you that I had that. Because at least I knew, the small town mentality, there's nothing that can really, to have that as a root, it was a bonus for me. Nonetheless, right, I strived, I need the big city, the lights, give me fast, anything, just fast, give me something that speed up things. And so what did I do when I graduated? Well, not graduated, we have a ceremony, and then after the ceremony, you have like a week, and then you have tests, exams and whatnot. And I was so mad because it's like you had to have the exams to get your diploma, so you couldn't skip out on the exams. So it was like vacation. Come on, let's go. Like, why do you have to wait a week in between graduation and whatever? So I remember being frustrated. And I had my car packed, ready to head west for the mountains. And it was 11:30 in the morning. I went in for my last test. I think it was history, because it was a doozy. Like, it was one of the ones that I just couldn't care less about. Like, this is not going to help me, really. I mean, right, as a kid. I'm talking as an immature teen on graduation day. Who needs history, right? So anyway, I go in there, and the test took me like an hour longer than I want. Like, I maxed out on the time. They allow you like 3 hours, and it was like 3.25, and the principal was like, it's okay, just take your time. I'm like, okay, because I was so paranoid. One, because I had studied, believe it or not. But I'm not good. When I come into a test and write things on, I'm one of those people that just blanks out. You put papers in front of me, it's like, I don't know, I must have been a lawyer or a victim of a lawyer in a past life, because it's just paperwork, just no way, I just blank. It's like trauma. Right away. So I have to, like, and back then, do I know how to zen out? What the hell's zen? I don't know. I just got to sit here and try and keep thinking until I can get it. And sometimes I'll read a sentence over 5 times, and you know how test sentences are. It's like, they're there to trick you anyway. So anyway, got through it in 3.25 hours. And the limit was 3, but the principal knew. He's like, just take it easy, Sean. It's okay. We'll give you. Do you need any more full scap? No, okay. We went. So then I was stressing about that, and then I remember there's big doors because it's in the gymnasium, right? And then you got it's all quiet, everything's clinical, and you walk out and the door slam, boom, boom, and I was like, oh. Fucking done. I'm done. And I just stood there, buzzed. And I was like, I'm done, because I put the pen to the paper, and when I stopped writing, I dropped the pen through the thing, and away I went. And then I had a couple of friends there, kind of waiting to, like, I think his name was Ryan and Kurt. And they were Ryan was hanging around. I think he's just checking on everybody to see. And I was like, yeah. He says, so how'd you make out? He said, did you bomb it? I said, no, 3.5 hours? No, I didn't bomb it. Half an hour, I probably would have bombed it. Anyway. And then he's like, oh, so that's why we'd walk home, whatever. And I said, well, I'm heading west. He says, today? I said, right frickin' now. I said, my clock's ticking. And he starts laughing. He goes, yeah, I gotta, like next week I'm gonna go. He was just, everything was casual with him. I wonder what he's up to now. But anyway, he, no big deal, right? So he was just one of those guys. He was like Jughead. I called him Jughead because he was skinny and tall and very, very smart, though. Not like stupid like in the comics. This guy was smart. He was like a brain with math and everything. And so anyway, I had my little conversation, and it's funny because we hang out, but he didn't know I was leaving for the mountains. So that's small town for you. But anyway, so off I went. I literally walked out the doors because it's like the gymnasium had straight out the front, and it was just a long, big parking lot, like sort of like in Greece, right? You have a big parking lot, and then the school's right there. It was like that. And out the door I went. I had my car parked right out front, a Honda Prelude with a sunroof and a bike rack on top, and away I went. I had my car filled up, everything, like literally gassed up, oil checked, tires, all that's good. And then I head out. And it was weird because it was like going from the gymnasium to the hallway. There was a little bit of a time warp there. I was like, I'm done. Like when you're a high school student, you live there all your life, and this is the school you went to from kindergarten to grade 12. That's how small the town was, and it's like I'm leaving this. I'm free. Whatever. So, and I had a job out in the mountains. Well, actually, yeah, it wasn't west. It was Alberta. It was Jasper, Alberta. Takara Lodge still exists today. I was a chambermaid, and that's where I was heading west. Young lady was heading west, and I opened the sunroof, and away I went. I left. I said goodbye to my parents beforehand, or did I go back? No, I don't think I did. I freaking went right after the test. I'm out of here. And I headed and I traveled. And that was, I had no fear there. And thank God I did, because I do not regret getting the wanderlust out of my system at that time. It really carried from that point, right? From being isolated in a small town. Again, I'm thankful now as an adult, looking back, that I had that bit of grounding, because in a small town, everybody knows everybody. There's a respect level. There's morals and principles that are there. In the city, I don't know if I wanted to be immoral. Yeah, I'm getting too personal there. But anyway, it's the freedom. It's don't cage me in. It's I need to run and race and drive fast, and this was what I wanted. So I got it, and I went out there, and of course Jasper was pretty laid back. I mean, that wasn't the fast times there, but it was an introduction to society. It was an introduction to new people and new ideas and opening of the brain, right? Because along with small town, right, there was a small town mentality, which was very closed-minded. And I got opened up when I moved out to Alberta, because it meant different people doing different things, And actually, at that time, there was a lot of heavily profound spiritual things that happened to me that I just kind of took in stride. But now I look back on it, I was like, yeah, that was heavy stuff going on back there, that I had to work through. And I wasn't as spiritual then as I am now, but I felt, oh my God, well, when you're close to nature, how can you not feel divine, right? You feel it. And you are the best that you can be. And we would hike after work every day. It was lovely. There was a little beach area there, and we'd go after work, burn the shit out of ourselves, because we didn't realize how high in elevation we were actually up there. So I actually, okay, one more story and I'll shut it down. I know I've gone past half an hour. Yeah, like we went to this little beach, and there'd be little pockets of beaches everywhere, and you just pull in and there's trees, and then all of a sudden you see this big, great beach on the bottom of a mountain with the ice cold water. That was the big thing. But anyway, going to the beach, I get a sunstroke, right? Because I'm from the prairies. We're the lowest freaking elevation you're going to find across Canada. Boom, the prairies. And then you go to the height. Well, you don't think. What do you think? And then people talking about bear bells. What the hell's a bear bell? What the hell's a bear? Like, I'm from the prairies. All we see is foxes and coyotes. Like, what are you talking about? Gopher? No, bears. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm going for high. Oh, no, you ain't. Like this kind of thing. Like, there was culture shock for me. Like, what do I have to worry about? I was going in the woods, and I'm telling you, that's when your instinct, the hair on the back of your neck. I went for one walk by myself with those warnings. I'm like, don't worry about it. You're young, you're invincible. No fear. I had none there. And then I think one time I came with, it's one of those instinctive things that you never seen it, but you knew something was there, because the back of your hair stood up, and your guts are turning, and you got this voice going, get out. Save yourself. So after that, I invested in a bear bell, and I put it on my backpack, and then I felt all good and secure. Whatever. But anyway, the sunstroke story, I'll leave you on that, because that'll make you laugh. We go right out in the mountains, and not only is it higher elevation, but it's also higher exposure. Like, the mountains were in such a way that the water would, reflect the sun and whatnot, like normal. But we would just get the like till 9:30 at night, we'd have sunsets, and it's like, what? So you'd be out there till 9:30 and not realize. So you get off work at 4, and you pile everybody into the Honda, and away you go, people popping out the sunroof. Yeah, we're there, like, let's go. And I mean, you drink one little mini can of water. You're not thinking, right? We're all just young teenagers or whatever. And so we go and we're talking, and everybody's, reading comic books, whatever, jumping in and out of the water. And a lot of us were just laying there reading, chatting, and catching up. I think we were gossiping about work. And then you go to bed the next day, you're kind of tired, you're kind of feeling the burn. Yeah, I got a little too much sun, but whatever. So You go to your little, what do you call it? Hostel room, because we had this dorm type area where you had just a whole bunch of doors, and you'd have a little bed and a little dresser and a little hanger area and enough room for your suitcase, and that's where you stayed. But it didn't matter because we were never there, right? We were always out doing something. So you go to bed, wake up the next day, kind of feel like you got a hangover a little bit, but we weren't drinking. I swear to God. Not then, anyway. And yeah, I get up and I go, we'd get these carts, we'd fill them up, because these were cabins we were cleaning, not like hotel rooms and whatnot, but they're cabins that were spaced out on a property. So you'd kind of have to walk a little bit to get to each one, and you had these little carts, and it had all your supplies, your soap, your body lotion, your garbage bags, and whatever, towels and all that stuff. You'd load up in the morning, your little cart, and then you'd head off to you'd have about anywhere from 5 large cabins to 10 small cabins, depending on which ones you were in charge of. And then off you go. So like I said, I felt like I had a hangover. I was not drinking, and I probably did not. I was dehydrated. That was a given. And I get up and I'm just kind of quiet, when Shauna's quiet, something's wrong. One way or another. And I'm just, it's kind of like I was on low battery. 25-30%. That's all I was running on. But I was like, you know what? It's just another day. Get in there, do your thing, go back home, and I'll sleep after work. So we get in, and, all I remember, I had the medium cabin, so I had 7 cabins. And then after, they're like, if you get done early, because they'd always tell the ones with the small and medium cabins done, if you get done early, go help the ones in the bigger cabins. So I was like, okay, no problem. So I get in, and I remember walking into one of the bigger of my medium cabins and sitting down and going, oh, I don't really feel too good. And then after that, I woke up in the hospital. Now, the story, and I still don't know if I believe these buggers and what they told me, but the story was that I was sitting in the cabin, which is the last point I remember being conscious, babbling. I was talking nonsense, apparently incoherent, like they couldn't even make out what I was saying, let alone me forming sentences. So what was her name? Oh, now I'm blanking out on the names. But anyway, the secretary, the one that does the booking and whatnot, she kind of comes in after. She was dual duty. She would do like housekeeping or not housekeeping. She was front desk, but she would also do like maintenance calls and stuff. So she had, I guess, I don't know when they found me. It's just completely like a blackout. And again, not drinking. I swear to God, I was not drinking. It sounds like a blackout story, but it's the only one I got. And I went in there, sat down, didn't feel good, and apparently, I don't know, like how long I was sitting there babbling to myself before she actually walked in, because it was Brandy that found me. Brandy Wine, yeah. She found me, and I guess, she said, are you okay, or whatever, and I just was, I was not, nobody home, it wasn't, so they were worried, and they're like, I think we need to take her, so she called the head housekeeper, and then they got her in there, got me in a car. They said I was mobile. I wasn't passed out, but incoherent, not talking. So there's something was shut off. Something just shut off, said, that's it. I'm dehydrated. No more brain power here. So again, I don't know if I believe these guys truly or not, but it's quite the story. So I thought, why not tell it? And we end up at the hospital, and of course I couldn't explain to the doctor nothing, and it was just kind of so they literally, went to my room and got my purse and handed them the health cards and whatever, because I was from Saskatchewan, but I moved to Alberta, so I could still use, for 3 months, I could use my health card. From Saskatchewan, they just transfer it without, having to pay. So they gave it, and they said they did tests. I was highly dehydrated, and I was having a sunstroke, is what they're calling it. I was dehydrated, and my fluids were down. So I can't remember if they gave me ID or IV. I think that something like that. And I do remember being in a car. I flickered in and out like that, just flickers in and out. And they're going, yeah, we got you back in the head housekeeper. What was her name? Oh, man. Jennifer's car. It's a Volvo, I think. Why do I remember these details? And they just took me back home and put me to bed. And then I don't remember. I really don't remember after that what the next day was or whatever. I'm pretty sure I was okay the next day, but so there's my little lighthearted story. And again, not a drop of alcohol there. God forbid if I had. Oh, that, yeah. You know, like these things that you do when you're young and what do you call that? Fearless. So anyway, fear was the topic. I don't know if I convinced you of anything or helped you with anything, but I know as an adult here and now in the present day, as I went back, way back, to my youth, in the present day, fear is really the devil. And he will make you do funny things and get you to reroute your highest potential. And the more that we evolve, I think the more that will reduce. And the more that we just will come into terms with the fact, like I say, you know, I was thinking the other day, I'm like, yeah, we really don't figure it out until we pass over. And all of that is removed because the heaviness here, it's the density. You cannot become of what I would say, quote unquote, highest potential, fearless from the highest potential and moral standards, right? Because there's fearless and crazy, you know, but you don't want to go there. You want fearless that is uninhibited to you and your goals and your dreams and your wishes and your fulfillment. That's getting you what's getting in between that, right? And so that's. And that, I mean, it doesn't mean that I don't struggle with that. I see it visually quite clearly. Emotionally, it's still there. You know, you still have areas in your life that are going to prevent you from going in areas for fear of judgment, for fear of failure, for fear of whatever, right? And when we, you know, somebody, who's the quoter? Oh, I don't know. I got this quote like just recently. What the hell was it? Well, one of the quotes that's very profound for me, like the fear, when I think of the fear of judgment, is if you really knew how little people thought about you, you really wouldn't worry about that. And then secondly, on the other side of fear, but there was a different tagline there. There's a different line of thought having to do with fear and the devil, and you know, everything's behind that wall of fear. But anyway, I lost my train. Choo choo, it's gone. Maybe I'll add it in editing if I think of it, because a lot of times I get to the editing, I'm like, oh, now I remember what that was. Cognitive dissonance, that was the word I was looking for and I couldn't find because my brain's going all over the place. But anyway, we're going to shut her down here. I'm pretty sure we're at an hour, and I don't want to break this up into two because it just will feel disjointed, so I will leave it as such. Thank you for coming in and listening to me. Hopefully you got a laugh at my expense, because I'll tell you, everybody was laughing at me for that. And I mean, some people did have cell phones back then, but they were the flip phones, and video was just, I don't know, we had video back then. I'll tell you, we squeaked right past that video stuff in the cell phones. Tell you me, I'm happy as a clam for that, because nobody got no record of what I did in the dark. Like, it's just nobody. And it helps me keep my own peace. I don't go back to that stuff. I mean, I've lived my life. But there's just no records like there is today. You know, and that can be talk about trauma and fear, right? So anyway, I'm not going to leave on a bad note. I told you my little sunstroke story. I didn't think that would come out. But nonetheless, so there it is. Yeah, she's... It's just... all over the place. And I tell you, I would have liked to have seen myself during that period, but I didn't remember a damn thing. They just shut me right down. You know, your body at a certain point, it just can't do. And that has happened to me, from what I've heard a few times. And it's not really, like I say, it's not drug induced, it's not alcohol induced. It's a mental thing, you know, or a physical thing, right? And at that time it was dehydration was the issue. And the system just said, no more, we're sitting down and we're not leaving. And in fact, our brain's just going to keep wobbling until somebody walks in and finds her, I guess. I don't know. I was thinking, what would I have done if I found someone doing that? Well, I would have done the same thing, got someone else to get help. It's like, call the manager, what's going on? We got to take her in. I don't know. So, yeah, so the stories, right? Everybody had a story. That was my first story. I had a second story. I don't know if we'll get into that one. That was near the end of my train at the Takara Lodge. Yeah, because there was a partying, right, in years to come. But we'll get to that one later down the road. I'll see where my... see how humble I get through these stories. But nonetheless, yeah, talked about readings and people coming in and whatnot. So if you're open for a reading, you'll get a good reading. But if you're a closed, personal person, that's what you'll get, is a closed out reading. So just keep that in mind when you go see it. And not necessarily for me, but for anybody that you want to give insight. If you're open and free, the more your guides, you know, because the minute you walk in that door and you say, I don't know, I'm scared, or I don't want them to know, then that goes up to your guide and it goes over to my guide, and then they go, sorry, we can't give you any information. They don't want any. So nothing really comes through without your permission anyway, right? But sometimes there's a little bit of a misconception about what can get through, and a fear of what can get through. There's a lot of that comes through the readings as well. People come in and then they're fearful what might come up from their past and whatnot. And the thing is that usually my focus when I'm going in there and doing that, it's to help advance you forward. So if you're on a mission of being in a position where you want to advance yourself, you're not looking at all the dirty things in the past. You're looking at your future and increasing things, right? So that stuff really doesn't matter. I mean, it's part of your learning curve, right? We got to do bad things so we know we don't want to do that again, or how does it feel? I like it or I don't. And so this kind of thing. And, you know, and I don't ever have the intention of going in and finding out things like that about people. And one of the things, I'll end on this note, one of the things I will never ever give you unless I have, there's been a line that's been drawn on this way. And I said, I'd never want to know a death date. And if someone comes in, and I had a lady come in and she was, you know, wanted a reading, gave her a reading. And she's like, you know, my grandmother's not doing so well. Can you tell me? And I said, okay. And right away, my gut started turning, right? And again, this woman's asking because it's her instinct going, I don't know how much longer we got here, right? And so basically, my gut's turned, right? So right away, I know that it's not good. What do I know? Nothing. I just got a gut feeling it's not good. So I told her, I said, you know what? I don't give deadlines or whatnot. I said, and then I scanned my feelings a little more for more information. Again, I didn't get any information, no audio, no clairvoyant, no pictures, nothing. I just got a guttural reaction, a physical reaction. So I told her, I said, look, I don't allow deadlines. I will not give you a deadline on purpose unless it is completely guided and it is for your own safety that you know this. I said, and you know, I'm very much aware that I do not, that's something I don't go there. And she was kind of like, I need to know. And I think I ended, and I just sat there quietly because I was asking, you know, my guides, like, what, you know, I know something's wrong here, but I don't want, and I was having a conversation with the guides going, I don't want to know this. Don't give me the information. And then I kind of sat there And I waited to see if, are they going to give me anything more? And it was like, no, they're not. And I'm like, you know what? Spend as much time as you can with her. Maximize the amount of time you spend there. And take advantage of the time that you have. And that's the way I left it. And she did come back to me like 2 years down the road. She said, why didn't you tell me? And I said, first of all, that's my rule. That's my one rule, that I just don't go there. I will not, no matter what. And again, unless I'm being given the goosebumps to tell them it's for their own safety, like to save a life, that's the only reason I would get a deadline and give it to you. Other than that, it's just something I stay away from. And when I had that conversation with her after, I explained to her, I said, I had a gut feeling. I said, did you have a gut feeling? She says, yeah, I kind of knew, but I wanted to know when. I said, why did you want to know when? And then I said, I gave you as much information, I said, because I stopped the flow. I said, they weren't giving me, I told her everything. So they weren't giving me anything other than a gut reaction, and I did not feel good about it. I said, but that's my rule. I don't want to know when, because if I would have given you the when, then there would have been more trauma on top of trauma on top. And I said, you just absorb that time, and that's all I could do. That was, in my mind, that was the sane thing to do. And I think I would still do the same thing today, actually. I would do it the same way. Because you don't need to know when. You look at her, you're feeling, your guts are feeling like, you're anxiety ridden. Go spend the time with your grandmother and make the most of it. This is coming to the end of the life, the age, it's all there. So, that was one of the things I will not give you, if any. And nobody's never directly come out and asked. That was the most direct in that way. And most people, they'll just go skirt around it or whatever. And sometimes you'll get a feeling, but you'll get guided. We don't need to go there, okay? And the person's not going to press for it. So we're good. We're scot-free, right? We don't have to deal with it. And that's, so anyway, so much for ending on a high note. I was going to end on a high note with the laugh at me because of my, what do you call that, sunstroke story, and then I end on the death date. So anyway, it was all about fear. I hope I helped you out there, and it's something we deal with every day, but hopefully these are things you have to deal with less and less as time goes on. So, tagline, again, I had it wrote down. I had a good one made up the other day. It was something about not keep on trucking, but it's like, I don't have it written, so I can't remember. But anyway, take care, guys. I will talk to you soon. TTYL, talk to you later. And hopefully you had a good day, a good evening, and a good afternoon. And if I put a smile on your face at my expense, then hallelujah, that's okay with me. Take care, guys. We'll talk to you later.